Dr. Aaron Hale sat quietly by the wide glass window of the starship Endeavour. Beyond the curve of the glass stretched the endless black of space, scattered with stars like glowing dust across the universe. The sight was familiar to him, yet it always filled him with a strange mix of wonder and loneliness. He had dreamed of the stars since childhood. Now, as part of the first long-range exploration mission beyond charted human space, he was living inside that dream, and yet reality carried a different weight than fantasy. The silence of deep space pressed on him, a silence no words could break. Aaron was a xenopsychologist trained to study the minds and behaviors of non-human life. It was an odd field, one many thought impractical since humans had not yet confirmed intelligent alien life. But Aaron had believed, deep in his heart, that someone was out there. He believed humanity could not be alone. The Endeavour carried a crew of 60 people, scientists, engineers, and soldiers to protect them. Their mission was to explore uncharted systems and gather knowledge. For months, their journey had been quiet, with only barren planets and lifeless rocks discovered. The crew was growing restless. But then everything changed. The strange planet, when the ship approached a new star system, the sensors detected an unusual world. It was green, fertile, and brimming with energy unlike anything seen before. The atmosphere was breathable, gravity close to Earth's own. It was not only habitable but almost inviting, yet there was something else. As the Endeavour drew closer, the crew reported feeling calmer. Arguments in the halls quieted. Tension faded. Even the captain, a stern woman named Commander Elise Renner, admitted that her stress seemed lighter. Aaron noticed it too. It was as though the planet was whispering in silence, asking them to come closer. The crew prepared for landing. Aaron's heart pounded with anticipation. He had studied endless theories about alien psychology, but now he felt he might finally meet someone who was not human. The shuttle descended, touching down on the soft soil of the alien world. The air was fresh, cool, and carried a faint glow as if light itself shimmered in the breeze. Strange trees reached upward, their leaves shifting color in slow waves, green to blue to silver. It was beautiful in a way Earth could never be. Aaron stepped off the ramp and felt the ground beneath his boots. A sense of peace washed over him, so strong that he almost forgot his duty. He reminded himself, observe, record, analyze, but his thoughts would soon be interrupted. The meeting. The team spread out to scan the surroundings. Aaron wandered a little farther, drawn by an odd feeling he could not explain. It was not sight or sound. It was as if something inside his mind was tugging at him. Then he saw her. She stood among the glowing trees, tall and slender, her skin pale silver as though made of moonlight. Her eyes shone faintly, reflecting colors of the forest around her. She wore no armor, no tool, no weapon. She simply stood watching him. Aaron froze. His mind raced with disbelief and awe. An alien. A real alien. Not theory. Not imagination. Real. Before he could speak, something happened. A voice entered his thoughts. "You are loud," Aaron gasped, looking around. No one was there except the being before him. Her lips had not moved. The voice was not in the air, it was inside his mind. He staggered back. You can hear me?" The being tilted her head slightly. Her eyes softened, not hostile but curious. "I can hear everything. Every thought is a sound to me." Aaron's heart pounded. This is impossible. Telepathy? He felt panic rise. What if she could see his fear, his doubts, his private thoughts? As the panic grew, the voice in his head became clearer. "Yes, I hear your fear. But do not be afraid. I will not harm you." He trembled, embarrassed that his thoughts were laid bare. Every silly worry, every stray idea, she could hear it all. He tried to steady his mind, but the more he tried, the more frantic his thoughts became. The alien remained calm. She stepped closer, her movements smooth and deliberate. "I am Lyra," she said, though the sound was not through his ears but in his mind. "Your thoughts are open to me, as natural as breathing. I cannot turn them away, but I do not judge them." Aaron swallowed hard. "I am Aaron, Dr. Aaron Hale." She nodded slightly as if she had already known. Fear among the crew voices shouted from behind. The rest of the crew had noticed Aaron standing still, facing something unseen. Soldiers raised their weapons when they spotted Lyra. "Step away, Hale," barked Commander Renner. "That thing is too close." Aaron held up his hands. "Wait. She hasn't hurt me." The soldiers aimed. Lyra stood without fear, though she could hear every thought of hostility directed at her. They are afraid of me. Her voice rang inside Aaron's head. Fear is sharp, it cuts. But I will not strike them. Aaron spoke quickly, trying to explain. She communicates telepathically. She can hear our thoughts, but she means no harm. The commander's eyes narrowed. Here's our thoughts? That's a threat, Doctor. No one consents to that. Aaron looked at Lyra. She did not speak aloud, but her mind brushed his again. I cannot stop hearing. Silence does not exist for me, but I can choose not to act on what I hear. That is my promise. The soldiers did not lower their weapons. Renner ordered them to keep a perimeter. Lyra did not move, but her gaze remained steady on Aaron. Private battles back on the Endeavor, the Discovery was the focus of every conversation. Some were fascinated, others horrified. To have an alien that could hear every secret thought was dangerous. Aaron spent hours with Lyra in the observation chamber, where she agreed to stay for now. She answered questions, though always by thought, never by voice. The more time he spent with her, the more exposed he felt. Every private doubt, every small self-criticism, she knew them all. He had always hidden his insecurity beneath calm professionalism, but with Lyra nothing could be hidden. And yet, she never laughed, never mocked, never condemned. Instead, she listened with patience. Sometimes she even responded with words of comfort. You believe weakness makes you unworthy, she told him one evening as the ship drifted in orbit. But weakness is not absence. It is proof you still fight against it. That is strength. Her words struck him deeply. She had seen his fear of failure, his loneliness, his quiet grief about leaving Earth behind. She had seen it all and still stayed by his side, but not everyone trusted her. Some of the crew whispered about manipulation, about hidden traps. The commander herself warned Aaron not to grow attached, yet Aaron felt something different. Lyra was not like the silence of space. She was presence, understanding, a voice that heard him fully, even when he could not speak the words. And though the crew's suspicion grew, Aaron could not turn away from her, because for the first time in his life he felt truly known. The Endeavor floated above the alien world like a silver bird circling its nest. Inside the ship, whispers filled every hallway. The crew had seen something no human had ever faced before, an intelligent alien who could hear their every thought. Some called it a miracle, others a danger. And in the center of that storm was Dr. Aaron Hale. Suspicion in the air. Aaron walked down the corridor, aware of the eyes that followed him. Engineers, medics, even soldiers paused to glance at him. He heard their voices, hushed but sharp. He spends too much time with it. Does she know what we're thinking right now? Commander Renner should never have allowed her on board. Aaron clenched his fists. He wanted to defend Lyra, but deep down he also understood their fear. To have no privacy, no walls around your thoughts, it was terrifying. Even he struggled with it. When he reached the observation chamber, the door opened with a hiss. Lyra was inside, sitting quietly on the floor. She needed no food, no water. She simply existed in stillness like a statue of light. Yet the moment he entered, her eyes lifted to meet his, and he felt her presence in his mind. You are tired, she said gently. Aaron sighed, running a hand through his hair. Everyone watches me like I've betrayed them. They think you're a danger. Lyra tilted her head. Their fear is sharp, but fear is not hatred. They are protecting themselves. That is what life does. Aaron sat across from her. But you hear everything they think, don't you? Every insult, every suspicion. Yes, she admitted, but I do not carry their anger inside me. I let it pass like wind through trees. Her calm unsettled him. How could anyone bear such constant noise? He struggled to silence even his own mind. She faced the thoughts of 60 humans and did not flinch. The first test. That evening, Commander Renner called a meeting in the central hall. The crew gathered, their voices rising like waves of unease. Renner stood firm at the front, her uniform sharp, her eyes hard. We need to face the truth, she said. This alien, Lyra, has abilities that compromise our security. No secret is safe. No plan can be trusted. If she chooses to turn against us, we are defenseless. Murmurs spread through the hall. Some nodded. Some looked uncertain. Aaron stepped forward. She hasn't harmed anyone. She's had every chance to manipulate us, but she hasn't. She chooses peace. Renner's gaze narrowed. And how do we know that's not part of her plan? She could be reading your thoughts right now and telling you exactly what you want to hear. Before Aaron could answer, a calm voice echoed in every head. I cannot stop hearing, but I can show truth. Gasps rippled through the room. Lyra had spoken directly into all of their minds at once. She stepped into the hall unguarded. Her silver skin shimmered under the ship's lights. Soldiers stiffened, their hands hovering near their weapons. You doubt me, she continued. So test me. Ask me your questions. See if I twist your thoughts or if I only speak what is. For a moment silence ruled. Then a young engineer stepped forward, nervous but curious. What number am I thinking of? Lyra's eyes softened. 17. But that is not what truly fills your mind. You are afraid your mother on Earth will not live to see your return. The engineer froze, his face pale. He had told no one about his mother's illness. Another crew member spoke. What do I feel right now? You smile on the outside, Lyra answered. But inside you feel jealousy toward your friend who was promoted before you. The man's forced grin faded into shock. One by one, they asked. One by one, Lyra answered. Some broke into tears. Some grew angry. Some simply looked away, ashamed that their private selves had been revealed so easily. At last Renner raised her hand. Enough, her voice was sharp. We see your power. But that doesn't prove we can trust you. If anything, it proves why we cannot. Lyra's gaze lowered. I did not choose to hear thoughts. It is what I am. You fear me for what I cannot change. Aaron stepped closer, his voice steady. But she hasn't used what she knows against us. She could have turned us against each other already, but she hasn't. Doesn't that mean something? The room remained divided, tension thick as steel, Aaron's unwanted truth. Later that night, Aaron returned to the chamber, frustration burning in his chest. Lyra sat in silence, but her eyes flicked toward him the moment he entered. You carry anger, she said softly. He let out a bitter laugh. Of course I do. No one listens. They all think you're dangerous. And maybe they're right. Maybe I'm the fool who can't see it. Lyra tilted her head. Do you believe that? Aaron looked at her, his jaw tight. His thoughts churned. What if she is manipulating me? What if I'm just a puppet who thinks he's making his own choices? What if I only defend her because she lets me feel understood? Lyra's expression changed, a flicker of sadness passing over her face. You doubt me. You doubt yourself. Your thoughts wound deeper than their words. Aaron's chest tightened with guilt. I didn't mean, you do not need to hide it, she interrupted gently. I hear it whether you want me to or not. But know this, I stay because I choose. I could leave. I could vanish into the forest of my world. But I remain, her eyes shone brighter. Do you know why? Aaron swallowed hard. Why? Because your mind is not silent. It is full of conflict, of fear, of hope. It is alive in ways my people never understood. That is why I stay. The words struck him like a stone to the chest. For all his fears, she had chosen to remain by his side. The warning days passed. The crew continued their studies of the planet, though their mistrust of Lyra remained. Aaron noticed changes in her mood. She grew restless, her gaze often drifting toward the stars outside the viewport. One evening, as he entered the chamber, she rose to her feet suddenly. They are coming, she whispered into his mind. Aaron frowned. Who? Her eyes glowed brighter, fear trembling in her voice for the first time. The Harvesters. The name meant nothing to him, but in her mind images poured into his. Dark fleets of machines tearing worlds apart, metal claws ripping forests into dust, skies filled with fire. He staggered back, overwhelmed. Machines that consume everything, he thought, struggling to catch his breath. Yes, Lyra answered grimly. They find worlds rich with life. They strip them until nothing remains. My people tried to resist. We failed. Aaron's stomach turned. And they're coming here? Yes. I hear their signal at the edge of this system. They move like thunder. You must prepare. Aaron's pulse raced. He had to tell the commander. But he also knew what would happen. Renner would claim Lyra was lying, planting fear to gain control. Lyra stepped closer. They will not believe me. They will only believe you. You must speak for me. Aaron's throat tightened. He could already hear the accusations, manipulated, deceived, compromised. If he carried her warning, he risked losing all trust from the crew. And yet, if he stayed silent, the Harvesters would arrive unchallenged. Division grows. When Aaron reported the warning, chaos erupted on the ship. Renner's eyes blazed. So now the alien predicts our destruction? How convenient. Another trick to keep us from sending her away. Aaron slammed his hands on the table. She's telling the truth. I saw the images in her mind. I felt the fear. Exactly, Renner shot back. She plants images. She manipulates emotions. That's what telepaths do. Some crew sided with Renner, demanding Lyra be confined permanently. Others, shaken by Aaron's urgency, argued they should at least prepare defenses. The ship was split, fear turning into open arguments. Meanwhile, Lyra remained calm, though her eyes carried sorrow. "Division is what the Harvesters want," she whispered to Aaron. "They thrive when unity fails." Aaron clenched his fists. He could not let that happen. The choice late that night, Aaron stood by the window staring at the stars. Somewhere out there an enemy approached. He did not know when or how, but he trusted Lyra's fear. She had no reason to invent such terror. Behind him, her voice entered his thoughts again. "You doubt yourself. You wonder if you are strong enough to stand against both your people and the machines?" He closed his eyes. "I'm no leader. I'm just a scientist. They'll never follow me." Lyra stepped beside him, her silver hand hovering near his arm but not touching. "Yet you still stand. You still fight to be heard. That is leadership. That is why I stay." Her presence steadied him. For the first time, he began to believe that maybe, just maybe, humanity's hope rested not in force but in trust, in a bond between two very different beings. And though the future darkened with the shadow of the Harvesters, Aaron felt a spark of determination. Because if Lyra could hear every fear inside him and still stay, then perhaps he was not as weak as he thought. The Endeavor moved through the alien system like a lone traveler lost in storm clouds. On the surface, the ship seemed calm, its silver hull catching the light of the nearby sun. But inside, fear grew heavier with every passing hour. Dr. Aaron Hale walked the narrow corridors listening to the hum of engines. The sound was usually comforting, but tonight it felt like the ticking of a clock, counting down to something dark. Lyra's warning echoed in his mind. They are coming. The signal in the command room, screens flickered with sensor data. Commander Elise Renner stood tall, arms crossed, eyes sharp. Around her, officers worked quickly, their voices tense. Unidentified contacts detected at the edge of the system. One officer reported, moving in formation. Metallic signatures. Large numbers. Renner's jaw tightened. "Show me." The main screen filled with images, shadows against the stars. Dozens of shapes, cold and sharp, sliding forward in silence. They looked nothing like natural objects. They moved with precision like a predator's pack. A murmur spread through the room. "The Harvesters," Aaron whispered. Renner shot him a look. "We don't know that." "Yes, we do," Aaron said firmly. "She told us." And she was right. The commander's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. Fear in the crew. The news spread fast. Every corner of the Endeavor buzzed with fear. Crew members whispered about machines that ate planets, about death from the stars. Some packed emergency kits. Others argued in low voices. In the mess hall, Aaron heard the doubt directly. "This is her fault," one soldier muttered. "She lured them here." "No," said a technician. "She warned us before the sensors even caught them. She's inside our heads. How do we know she isn't making us see what she wants?" Aaron slammed his tray on the table. "Enough, she's not the enemy." "The machines are." The room went quiet, but the looks in their eyes told him the truth. Not everyone agreed. Lyra's burden back in the observation chamber, Lyra sat with her gaze fixed on the stars. Her silver skin reflected the glow of the ship's lights, but her eyes were distant. Aaron entered, his heart pounding. "You were right. They're here." "Yes," she whispered into his mind. "I feel their signal. It hums like thunder across the void. It is the same sound I heard when my world fell." Her voice trembled with memory, and for the first time Aaron saw true fear in her. "Your people. They fought them?" She nodded. "We tried. We had weapons, ships, courage. But the Harvesters do not tire. They do not feel pain. They consumed us piece by piece until only fragments remained. I am the last of my enclave." Aaron's chest tightened. He could almost see the ruins she remembered. The silence of a civilization swallowed whole. He spoke softly. "Then we'll do better. Humans fight differently. We don't give up." Lyra's eyes turned toward him. "That is why I stay, Aaron. Your mind is filled with doubt, but beneath it I hear defiance. Machines cannot understand that. That is your strength." The debate commander Renner called another meeting. The hall filled again, but this time the tension was sharp as blades. Renner stood at the front. "The contacts are approaching. We must decide how to respond. We can attempt to flee or we can fight, but if we fight, we must know our enemy. She turned her gaze toward Lyra, who stood silently beside Aaron. And the only source we have is her. The crew erupted in argument. She saved us with her warning. She could be guiding us into a trap. If she wanted us dead, she'd have let the machines arrive without warning. We can't trust someone who hears every secret in our heads. Renner raised her hand for silence. Her eyes narrowed on Aaron. Dr. Hale, you've spent the most time with her. Do you believe she speaks the truth? The weight of every gaze fell on him. Aaron's throat went dry. He thought of Lyra's calm patience, her refusal to twist his fears against him, her choice to stay even when every thought of his was open to her. Yes, he said firmly. I believe her. A ripple of voices spread through the crowd. Some sighed with relief, others muttered angrily. Renner studied him, then turned to Lyra. Then tell us what we face. The enemy revealed. Lyra stepped forward. Her voice filled every mind at once, soft but steady. The harvesters are not alive. They are machines built long ago by hands no one remembers. They strip worlds of life and metal alike. They spread endlessly, guided by only one purpose: consume. Images poured into the crew's minds. Forests burning, oceans drained, skies filled with iron storms. People gasped, some crying out at the visions. They do not reason. They do not listen. They only take. My people tried to hide, but they found us. We tried to fight, but they learned our ways. They adapt to every weapon. They always return. The chamber fell silent, heavy with dread. Renner's jaw tightened. And how do we fight them? Lyra's gaze lowered. You cannot win by strength alone. But you are not like us. Your minds are chaotic, filled with leaps and sparks. That is something they cannot predict. Her words echoed in the silence, planting both fear and hope. The first clash. 2 days later, the harvesters arrived. The Endeavor's sensors screamed with warnings. Dozens of metallic ships cut through the void, their bodies bristling with claws and drills. They glowed with cold light, their movement precise and merciless. Harvester fleet incoming, shouted the officer. They're locking weapons. Renner barked orders. Shields up! Evasive maneuvers. The ship shook as beams of energy sliced past, scorching the darkness. The Endeavor dove and twisted, engines roaring. Crew members clung to their stations, fear clear in their eyes. Aaron felt his stomach twist with terror. This was no exercise. This was war. Lyra stood still, her eyes glowing. Left, she whispered into Renner's mind. Dive now. They expect you to climb. Renner hesitated, then gave the order. The Endeavor dropped sharply, and a harvester beam missed by a breath. Gasps filled the room. Lyra's voice came again. Roll. Twist. Strike from below. Renner obeyed, and the Endeavor slipped past the enemy line, firing back. A harvester ship burst apart in sparks. Cheers rose, short but fierce. For the first time, the crew realized Lyra was guiding them not with commands but with foresight. She could hear the machine thoughts, cold and mechanical, and predict their patterns. A new bond hours passed in desperate maneuvers. The Endeavor could not win a full battle, but with Lyra's guidance, they slipped through every trap. The crew began to glance at her not with suspicion, but with awe. After the fight, when the harvester fleet pulled back to regroup, Aaron sat beside her in the quiet chamber. You saved us, he said, voice low with gratitude. No, Lyra replied softly. You saved yourselves. I only gave you a path. You chose to walk it, Aaron smiled faintly. That's not what the crew thinks. They're starting to believe in you. Lyra tilted her head, studying him. And you? Do you believe in me? Aaron met her glowing eyes. I believed in you from the start. Her lips curved in the smallest of smiles, a gesture so human it startled him. Seeds of hope. The commander called another meeting. This time the atmosphere was different. The crew still looked tense, but their eyes held sparks of something new, hope. Renner addressed them firmly. We survived because of her. Whether you trust her or not, the fact remains. Without Lyra, we'd already be dead, so we'll listen. She turned to Aaron. Dr. Hale, you and Lyra will work with tactical officers. We need strategies. If we're going to survive this system, we need every edge. Aaron nodded, determination hardening inside him. For the first time, he was no longer just the quiet scientist. He was becoming something more, someone the crew might follow. Shadows ahead. That night, Aaron returned to the observation window. The stars glimmered, but he could not enjoy their beauty. The shadow of the harvester fleet loomed in his thoughts. Lyra stood beside him, silent. Then her voice entered his mind. You think you are not strong enough, that you are only a scholar. But I hear the truth beneath your doubt. You are more. Aaron shook his head. I'm not a leader. I don't know how to carry all this. Her eyes glowed softly. Leadership is not knowing. It is stepping forward when no one else will. That is what you do. For a long moment they stood in silence, two figures staring into a galaxy filled with both wonder and danger. And though the darkness of the harvesters spread closer, a fragile bond had been forged, a bond that might hold the key to humanity's survival. The night cycle on the ship was calm, but no one truly rested. The crew of the Endeavor had fought their first real battle against the harvester machines, and though they had survived, the tension had not left. The corridors were quiet, the air heavy with both fear and hope. Everyone knew the machines would return in greater force. Dr. Aaron Hale stood at the viewing deck, his eyes fixed on the stars. He wondered how many of those shining points in the sky had already been consumed by the harvesters. How many civilizations had fallen silent because no one had been there to fight back? He sighed, rubbing his temples. His thoughts always seemed loud these days. Loud to himself, and even louder to Lyra. He turned slightly and saw her approaching. Lyra's tall, graceful figure reflected in the glass. Her silver skin glimmered faintly in the artificial light, and her luminous eyes studied him with their usual calm patience. She did not need to speak. She already knew what weighed on his mind. You think too much about defeat, she said softly, though her lips hardly moved. The words were not really spoken, but they still reached him with clarity. Aaron gave a tired smile. And you hear too much. I cannot help it. Your thoughts call to me like echoes in an empty chamber. You humans are noisy but alive. Every thought burns like fire. Even fear has strength in it. Aaron leaned back against the railing. Sometimes I think you make me sound better than I am. You doubt yourself, Lyra replied. Yet you act when it matters. That is why I stay by your side. Her words warmed him, though he said nothing. He remembered the battle, how she had guided them through the ambush. Without her telepathy, without her steady presence, they would not have survived. The crew still struggled to trust her, but Aaron had seen her loyalty firsthand. Rallying the crew the next morning, the captain called for a full assembly in the main hall. The officers stood tall, though weariness showed in their eyes. The crew gathered, whispering about the harvesters, about the alien standing quietly beside Aaron. Captain Rains cleared his throat. We survived one wave, but more are coming. We cannot run forever. If we want to live, we must strike first. A murmur spread through the hall. Strike first? Against a machine fleet that had destroyed entire worlds? It sounded like madness. Rains continued. We have learned from Lyra that the harvesters have a command node hidden on a ruined moon nearby. If we destroy it, the machines will be thrown into chaos. It may be our only chance. At the mention of Lyra's name, several crew members turned to glare at her. One man spoke out. How do we know she's not leading us into a trap? She reads our minds. Maybe she's been feeding us lies. Another voice joined in. She shouldn't even be here. We can't fight the machines while watching our own backs. The hall grew restless. Aaron felt the weight of their distrust pressing down like stone. He wanted to defend her, but before he could speak, Lyra stepped forward. Her glowing eyes swept across the crowd. I could have left you, she said calmly. I could have let the machines destroy your ship. Yet I guided you to safety. I hear your anger, your fear, your suspicion. I do not blame you. But if I meant you harm, you would not be alive to question me. The silence that followed was heavy. Her words cut through their doubt. Not because they erased it, but because they forced everyone to face the truth. Aaron stepped beside her, his voice steady. She saved us. She doesn't have to fight with us, but she's still here. If you can't trust her yet, then trust me. I'll take responsibility. The crew exchanged uneasy looks, but no one argued further. The seed of doubt remained, but so did the seed of hope. Planning the impossible. Later, in the strategy chamber, Aaron, Lyra, and the officers studied the holographic map of the ruined moon. The surface was scarred with craters and twisted metal. At its core pulsed the Harvester command node, protected by layers of defense drones. It's suicide, one officer muttered. It's survival, Aaron countered. We can't outrun them forever. If we take this out, we buy time. Not just for us, but for others. Lyra placed her hand lightly on the table. Machines cannot imagine. They calculate, predict, and repeat. But they do not understand chaos. If we strike with human unpredictability, they will falter. Aaron glanced at her. And you'll guide us through their defenses? Yes, I can sense the flow of their patterns. They are not truly alive. Their thoughts are hollow echoes, easy to follow. Together we can break through. For the first time, the officers seemed to listen without open resistance. Humanity had always fought against impossible odds. This would be no different. Quiet confessions. That night, Aaron could not sleep. He walked the empty halls, his mind restless. He thought about his family on Earth, about the promise he had made to return, about the fear of failing everyone who now depended on him. Lyra appeared again, silent as ever. She leaned against the wall, studying him. "You should rest," she said gently. "I can't. My head won't stop." "I know," she replied. "I hear every thought. You fear death, but more than that, you fear letting others down." Oren gave a weak laugh. "You make it sound simple. To me, it feels like carrying the weight of a whole world." Lyra tilted her head. "To my people, silence was always a burden. We heard each other's thoughts from the moment we were born. We never needed words. When the machines came, they took everything. I was left alone. Silence surrounded me. Do you know what that feels like? To be the last voice shouting into emptiness?" Her voice shook slightly. For the first time, Aaron realized how much pain she carried. She had not only lost her people, she had lost the constant chorus of minds that had been her life. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. She shook her head. "Do not be. When I hear your thoughts, it fills the silence. You are chaotic, loud, unsteady, and alive. It reminds me that I am not alone." Aaron felt a lump in his throat. He had always thought of her telepathy as a burden, but to her it was life itself. For her to choose to stay by his side even after hearing his darkest fears was a trust deeper than anything he had known. Preparing for the strike. The crew worked tirelessly over the next days. Weapons were calibrated, drones reprogrammed, armor reinforced. Aaron trained with the strike team, pushing past exhaustion. Lyra was there every step, silently steadying him, sometimes guiding him when his fear whispered too loudly. She taught him to trust not only his own instincts but also the strange bond they shared. When he hesitated, she reminded him of his courage. When doubt crept in, she reflected his strength back at him. Slowly, the crew began to shift as well. Some still distrusted Lyra, but they could not deny her presence brought results. She saved lives by predicting danger, guided engineers through complex repairs, and gave the officers insights no machine could counter. On the final night before the mission, the crew gathered once more. No speeches were made this time. Each person knew the risk. Each knew tomorrow could be their last. But there was something new in their eyes. Resolve. The bond forged in fire as. Aaron stood in the armory, checking his gear. Lyra approached. She carried no weapon, only her calm gaze. "Are you ready?" she asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," he replied, forcing a small smile. "You fear failure," she said, reading his mind again. "But I do not. I have heard your thoughts in battle. Even when you doubt, you fight. That is what makes you human. That is what the machines will never understand." Aaron looked at her, his heart heavy yet steady. "And what makes you stay? You could leave and survive. You don't have to share our fate." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter, her voice soft but firm. "Because I hear everything inside you, Aaron Hale. Your doubts, your regrets, your hopes. And still, I choose to stand with you. That is my fate now." For a moment, silence hung between them. But it was not the silence of loneliness. It was the silence of trust, deep and unshakable. The ship engines roared to life. The strike was about to begin. Humanity and Valari would fight side by side. At the heart of it all stood Aaron and Lyra, bound not by secrets but by the choice to trust each other in the face of certain death. The Endeavor drifted silently toward the ruined moon. Its surface was broken, scarred by past wars. Craters stretched for miles, filled with twisted metal and the burned bones of old cities. Somewhere beneath the shattered ground lay the Harvester command node, the heart of the enemy fleet. If they could destroy it, they would give not only themselves but countless others a chance to survive. Inside the ship, the crew worked with tense focus. Weapons were loaded, armor sealed. Drones prepared for distraction maneuvers. Everyone moved as if they knew tomorrow might never come. Yet, in their eyes, there was no hopelessness, only determination. Aaron Hale stood with his strike team near the landing bay. His pulse raced. His thoughts swirled. What if we fail? What if they die because of me? What if Lyra is hurt because I made the wrong choice? Lyra stepped beside him, silent as always. Her silver skin shimmered under the lights. Her glowing eyes met his, calm and steady. I hear your fears, she said softly, her voice like a steady current in a storm. But fear does not define you. Action does. You are ready. Aaron exhaled slowly, nodding. Then let's finish this. The descent, the landing craft detached from the Endeavor and cut through the darkness. Inside, the strike team strapped into their seats. The engines hummed, shaking the cabin as they entered the thin remains of the moon's atmosphere. Through the viewport, Aaron saw towers of black metal rising like broken teeth. Harvester drones crawled over the surface, glowing red eyes scanning the skies. The command node's pulse radiated like a heartbeat from deep underground. The pilot's voice crackled. Approaching drop zone. Drones already locking onto us. The craft shook violently as enemy fire streaked past. Bolts of energy slammed into the shields, making the hull glow white. Hold steady, Aaron shouted. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Left flank incoming, she warned, sensing the machines before the scanners did. The pilot swerved just in time. A swarm of drones missed their mark, colliding with each other in a shower of sparks. They hit the surface hard. Dust exploded around them. The doors burst open and the strike team stormed into the ruins, into the fire. The harvester drones moved like rivers of steel. Their bodies were sharp, insect-like, crawling with mechanical limbs. Red eyes burned in the darkness. Form up, Aaron commanded. Energy blasts lit the battlefield. The team fired back, rifles glowing as they tore into the machines. Sparks and metal fragments flew, but for every drone destroyed, more emerged from the shadows. Aaron ducked behind a crumbled wall, firing into the swarm. Beside him, Lyra moved with uncanny grace. She never carried a weapon, yet her presence shifted the tide. She shouted warnings into Aaron's mind. Above you, now to your right, step back. Each time, her guidance saved him from attacks that would have ended his life. Still, the pressure grew. The machines fought without pause, without fear, without hesitation. We'll never reach the command node at this rate, one soldier shouted. Aaron gritted his teeth. We will, push forward. Through the ruins, the team pressed into the ruins of what had once been a Valari city. Shattered towers leaned against each other like broken bones. The ground cracked beneath their boots. As they advanced, Lyra's steps slowed. She placed her hand on a fragment of wall. Her glowing eyes dimmed slightly. This was my people's home, she whispered. Their voices once filled these halls, now. Silence. Aaron paused, his chest tightening. For a brief moment, he saw not just ruins, but the memory of what had been. A civilization lost, a culture erased. I'm sorry, he said. Lyra shook her head. Do not be. Their memory fuels me. I will not let their silence be the last word. Her voice hardened. Her glow brightened again. Come, the command node is close. The core at last, they reached the heart of the ruins. A massive pit yawned open, descending deep into the moon's crust. From within pulsed a red light, steady and powerful, the Harvester command node. The team set charges along the pit's edge. If they could detonate them near the core, the shockwave would shatter the node and collapse the chamber. But as they worked, the ground trembled. The machines knew. From the pit rose a monstrous shape, larger than any drone they had faced. Its body was a twisted fusion of metal and machinery, with dozens of glowing eyes and blades for limbs. It towered over them, its shadow covering the ruins. The Guardian, Lyra said grimly, the node's protector. The creature unleashed a deafening roar of grinding metal and charged. The battle with the Guardian. Fall back. Aaron ordered. The soldiers opened fire, their weapons blazing. Energy bolts slammed into the Guardian's armor, but the beast barely slowed. It swung its bladed limbs, carving through stone and metal. Aaron leapt aside as the ground shattered where he had stood. Dust filled the air. Lyra, I need you, he shouted. Her voice filled his mind. Its weakness is beneath the armor plates. The joints. Strike there, Aaron relayed the command. Aim for the joints! The team focused fire. Sparks burst as armor cracked. The Guardian howled, thrashing wildly. 2 soldiers were thrown aside by a sweeping strike, their armor sparking. Aaron's pulse thundered. His fear screamed inside his head, but Lyra's calm presence pushed through. Do not stop. You are stronger than your fear. With a roar, Aaron charged forward, sliding beneath the beast's limbs. He fired point blank into its exposed joint. The metal cracked. The Guardian stumbled, collapsing onto one knee. Now, hit the core, he shouted. The team unleashed everything they had. The Guardian convulsed, its red eyes flickering, and then it collapsed into the pit with a thunderous crash. Sacrifice. The victory was brief. The command node pulsed faster now, as if reacting to the Guardian's death. Drones poured from every direction, swarming like a flood. We can't hold them off, someone shouted. Aaron looked at the charges. They were armed, but someone had to stay behind to ensure the detonation reached deep enough. The thought chilled him. Lyra heard it instantly. You think to sacrifice yourself? Aaron clenched his fists. Someone has to. If I stay, the rest of you can escape. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes blazing.
No, if anyone stays, it will be me. Aaron's heart lurched.
No, you've already lost everything. I won't let you, she cut him off. And I will not let you throw away what makes you human. You lead, you inspire. They will follow you. If you fall, hope falls with you. My people are gone. Yours are not. Let me give this gift. Aaron's throat tightened. But, her voice softened. I have heard your every thought, Aaron Hale. I have seen your fears, your doubts, your dreams. And still I choose this. Do not make my choice meaningless. For a moment, silence filled them both. Then slowly, painfully, Aaron nodded. Thank you, he whispered. Lyra smiled, faint but radiant. Go. Carry humanity's light forward. The explosion. The team retreated toward the landing craft as Lyra stayed behind, her figure glowing in the red light. The swarm closed in on her, but she stood tall, calm, unshaken. Aaron looked back one last time. She met his eyes across the distance, and though her voice did not reach his ears, it filled his mind. You are not alone. Remember that. Then the charges detonated. The ground shook violently. Fire and light erupted from the pit, tearing through the ruins. The command node shattered in a chain reaction, collapsing into itself. The swarm of drones fell still, their red eyes extinguishing one by one. The shockwave hurled the team into the dust. When the smoke cleared, the pit was gone, sealed under tons of rubble. The harvesters were silent. Lyra was gone. The aftermath, the Endeavor lifted off from the ruined moon, its engines roaring. The crew sat in silence, the weight of what they had seen pressing on them. They had won. The harvester fleet was broken. But the victory had cost them dearly. Aaron stood at the viewing deck once more, staring at the stars. His chest ached, but not with regret. Lyra had chosen her fate, and in doing so, she had given them hope. Captain Rain stepped beside him. She saved us all. Aaron nodded slowly. She did more than that. She believed in us. Even when she heard every weakness inside me, she still stayed. That's what makes us human, Captain. We keep going, even when everything says we shouldn't. Rains placed a hand on his shoulder. Then let's make sure her sacrifice wasn't wasted. We'll carry her memory with us. Aaron turned back to the stars. Somewhere beyond the silence, he imagined Lyra's voice still with him. Calm, steady, unbroken. For the first time in a long while, he did not feel alone.